Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. Yeah, we're doing maybe this will be like a semi-regular thing. Who knows? Whenever Cooper or I come up with a good topic, but I'm just going to make a playlist called Theology, and it's just me and Coop. Coop is always going to be my guy that I'd like to bounce these ideas off with. What was the first one? Melchizedek. I got to look for that one. And,
yeah, Melchizedek, and the second one was
right. I got to update the playlist. Yeah, but this was kind of fun. It was kind of different. Yes, it's a little off of comic books. I like talking comic books. I like talking movies, mythology.
Well, considering a lot of comics were inspired by Bible stories.
Yeah, we could tie this into we could tie this into Galactus fighting the Sphinx somehow.
There you go.
Yeah, so yeah, this isn't something I want to do often, but I do have like nagging Bible questions, and I'm not saying Cooper is going to be my rabbi over here, but Cooper does have good insights, So I will also put out the link if anybody wants to join us. I got kind of two rules: be respectful. This is religion, after all. Second off, unless I know you really well, you got to have a camera. That'll just keep people behaving. I'm sure other people can understand. All right, so there you go. So what we're talking about, one of the most, this has always been bothering me in the Bible. It says God hardened Pharaoh's heart, and it says it a few times. So
yeah, well, actually, it only says it one time. The other times it says Pharaoh hardened his heart.
Right.
So God only hardened his heart when he was pursuing them into the Red Sea. But the other times, I looked this up. The other times it says the Pharaoh hardened his heart.
Right. So I'm getting one of the quotes, and I'm going to throw it into the chat, and then I can click on it. Oh, geez. All right. It's not going to work the way I wanted it to. Let's bring it in. So this is annoying. I should have prepared a little bit better. All right. But I will actually, so yeah, it posted a link. So let me click on that and see what it says.
Alrighty. It looks right to me.
Okay. Exodus 7:3-4.
Yep.
Of course, pop-ups. All right. Sorry, everybody. But this is okay, and then I can put it in the chat, and then pop it over. So Exodus 7:3-4, 3. But I will harden Pharaoh's fart. Jeez, I'm turning into a seventh grader. I'll harden Pharaoh's fart, and then everybody will flee Egypt on their own, right? If Pharaoh's got a hardened fart, I'll harden Pharaoh's heart, and though I will multiply my signs and wonders in Egypt. So this is God telling Moses what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And before I talk about my thoughts, do you want to? Well, let's adjust the chat. So we got Eric the Guapo is predicting that we're 10 minutes late. We beat you. We got in.
Yeah.
Agent Zero. That he's got his great comic, Chrome Dog, drawn by Luke Stone. If you want to send Cooper or I your link, we can put it in the chat. Always helping. It's also at Fund My Comic, Chrome Dog issue number 1. I'm waiting for issue number 2. Luke Stone drew that. Luke Stone is also drawing Call Sign Orion, and he's also drawing the Sleeper Agent for me. So there we go.
Yeah, I mean, you got Scratch and Slither fighting to the death, and then he just cut it off. Come on now.
Yeah. We
What's up with that, dude?
Come on, Justin. Come on. I'm getting the names wrong. So I got a Heroic Tales 2 for a limited time on Kickstarter. I talked about that. So I think there's 28 days left, 25 days left. And you got community service, right? That's the name of your book?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, community service.
Community service preambles.
With Colonel Ironside. We both have a thing for old man superheroes. Maybe someday Captain Atlas. Just don't shake. I almost said something I shouldn't say. Streams for anybody who wants to pop in and talk. And 3 minutes late, we're almost punctual. I cannot disagree with that. I cannot. No. Pharaoh summoned Ra to counter Jehovah.
Mm.
All right, so let's see. So here is the Bible quote that we're talking about.
Yeah.
So go ahead. I've already been rambling for 6 minutes. So go ahead. You say what you.
Well, I think this goes back to your earlier complaint about Judas Iscariot. Your biggest problem with this is the idea that God would take somebody's free will from them and force them into do evil, and so that seems counter. That seems counter to what they say God's nature is, right?
Right. Well, with
Mhm.
Judas, it's not that I could the God didn't take Judas's free will. Jesus didn't take God's Judas's free. Judas did everything on his own. He had his own agency. Just God knew what he was going to do,
Yeah.
and told Jesus, or Jesus already knew because of their special nature. Sometimes it gets a little confusing to talk about Jesus and God. You know what I mean? So,
well, they are the same guy. It's
yeah,
just
forgive me, I'm only mortal here. So that I never had a problem with that. I never thought that Judas was railroaded.
Right.
My question was, is Judas redeemable? That we already talked about that for an hour or so, because basically he did something that led to something else and say needed to be done. So that's a little different. Now this is a specific instance where I forgive me if I get the details wrong, but this was 9 plagues of Moses, doing Moses stuff, and Pharaoh was wavering, and God hardened Pharaoh's heart, and Pharaoh didn't waver, and then the next plague was the firstborn son. Egypt will die. The firstborn. It's a firstborn son, or is it a firstborn child? I forget.
Firstborn sons.
Firstborn sons of Egypt will die.
Yeah,
and that always bothered me, And we'll talk about this in a bit. So go ahead. I already interrupted you once.
Oh no, that's fine. Well, when it comes to the Pharaoh, you also have to look at who we're dealing with here. Now, it doesn't say that there was a change in pharaohs between, when Moses' childhood to the Pharaoh. I mean, we think that because of the, the Ten Commandments movie, where the older Pharaoh dies and, the dashing younger Pharaoh played by, Yul Brynner, takes his place. But there's good indication that this Pharaoh was remarkably long-lived, and that this was the same Pharaoh that ordered the death of the Jewish children.
Right.
And so this was, we have to understand that this was not a good guy.
Right.
And he was. They were polytheistic. They sacrificed to their gods, and there's good indication some of the sacrifices were children. So we're not talking about this poor innocent Pharaoh. God hardened. So we're talking about a bad dude here, and he was not treating the Israelites well. You don't want to leave a place where you're treated well, and you don't call people being in bondage if they have freedom of movement. They were slaves. They were, they were under oppression, and they needed to be delivered out of the hand of Pharaoh. So, you have to give that context to what we're talking about here. We're not talking about some okie dokie. I'm just a Pharaoh of this nice little nation over here, and God's like harden his heart. And so we're talking about a guy who was just a there you go. But he was not. He was bloodthirsty. He they murdered other cultures. They had enslaved the Israelites. They were not the good guys in the scenario. So
playing devil's advocate here.
Okay, go ahead.
Again, for the sake of conversation and whatever. Pharaoh,
Mm-hmm.
you could argue that Pharaoh's doing what Pharaoh's got to do to keep the economy of his whole empire going. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just hear me out here, because what does Moses do as soon as he gets to whatever you want to call it, Palestine, Israel, the promised land? They attack and destroy the Midianites. Every man, woman, and child, animal. They enslave women. What do women slaves are used for? They go to I forget.
Where did the enslavement of women? Where did that come in?
Oh, I'll find the exact quote, but yeah, they took the Midianite women's as their wives.
Well,
that
doesn't sound right.
I'm
not saying it
anyway,
wasn't. Anyway,
Moses did the exact same things that Pharaoh did.
Well,
so if we're gonna call Pharaoh bloodthirsty, wrong, and evil, so is Moses.
Well, the thing about it is when God's orders were basically to take the land back and to do so, to remain pure and to remain devoted to God. They couldn't have other gods before him, and so it's harsh. But every time that the Israelites fell, it's because it fell from within, because it failed to purge elements out of their culture that basically seduced them and took them down. This happened all over Judges over and over again. And we are thinking of things through the eyes of the 20th century here.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that.
And they were, when you talk about, the way things operated back then, the Israelites were actually kinder with the way they dealt with their enemies than a lot of cultures that basically would utterly and completely erase a culture and then absorb them, and then basically make them slaves and things like that. And Israelites, except for that, I need to look that up, because it doesn't sound right that they were taking Midianites, the slave women. But
maybe not Midianites, but right over here. Numbers 31:17 to 18.
Okay.
Keep all the virgins, but all non-virgins and males are to be killed. So what do you do with female virgins?
Well, you marry them off. It doesn't say they became sex slaves.
Well, I don't know. Islam does that now. We don't really take.
Well, Islam does that, but
I get
Ruth was a Midianite.
What's
Ruth
that?
was a Midianite. Ruth was a Midianite.
Who was what? I'm sorry.
Ruth.
Yes.
The book of Ruth. She was a Midianite.
Yes.
And so evidently that, in that situation, they assimilated at least the females of that culture and allowed them to marry Israelis. So
yeah, the Midianite virgins. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
In the aftermath of the battle, you tell take the young girls who are virgins may live, keep them for yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't say marry them.
Okay.
So maybe it could be a translation problem. It's the first thing you Google. It's probably not Bible friendly. I understand that. But, keep the young virgins, keep them for yourselves, kill everybody else.
Yeah.
Because again, the way I look at it, you judge one by one set of rules and judging others by a different set of rules. Now, I'm not saying Pharaoh was a good guy. I'm also saying back then the world was harsh. Back then
it was.
Yeah.
It was. But that's the thing. We think of things as in terms of good and evil and things like that. But that the Ten Commandments were the law and Israelites, and there was a lot of gray area that the Ten Commandments didn't cover. But
Colonel Zaid, this is 1,000 years before Christianity. So yeah. So this is before Christ. This is some Old Testament. This is Bronze Age.
Yeah. Yeah, I can kind of see I can kind of see where we're going to get with Colonel's aid tonight, but it is what it is. We used to get about 1 or 2 of those every time we do this, so not as bad as that first one. That first one was a nutcase, but we're not, doesn't bother us, don't bother us. Anyway, so okay, now moral equivalency, basically, the cultures that were involved. You had the pagan cultures who were like doing child sacrifice and doing slavery and raping and pillaging and things like that. And the Israelites, while they did purge, and they did in this case they did take virgins to add to their gene pool. For the most part, it's pretty well established that the Israel's culture was certainly a lot more humane and certainly a lot more moral than the surrounding cultures. And so,
I need proof.
Well, I mean, the proof is there. I mean, you look at what those other cultures were doing, and you see what the Israelites were doing. And so you're kind of hung up on the fact that we're
every 6 weeks, God had to come down and smack the Israelites for doing the wrong thing again, worshiping the calf. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, they are human. I mean,
this is like the one argument nobody could argue with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there you go.
So what Cooper and I are doing was we're having a philosophical debate, and I'm playing the role of the devil on the shoulder, and Cooper is always the angel. Look at that face. Look at that face.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, everybody's mad at me for having a baby face now. So Cooper wins beard. Cooper wins beard tonight. Ball,
yeah,
yes.
by default.
I used to
okay. So we already covered that. We already covered that, Colonel Zaid. You might want to go back and watch that. That was 2 episodes ago. He's trying to say that same old discussion that we had like 2 episodes ago about that Yahweh was a part of the pantheon and along with Baal.
Yeah.
So we already covered that, my friend.
Yeah, that's beyond the purview of tonight's conversation.
Yep. I was just going back and checking that out. That was the Melchizedek episode.
Yeah, I'm looking up that stream so I can put it in the playlist.
Yeah. Now, the thing about is this is before grace, and so Judaism had very little wiggle room. They were under the sacrificial law, but they pretty much had just about everything nailed down when it came to what was prescribed and how they operated. And God was pretty jealous. That he did punish them multiple times for doing things their own way. It's kind of hard for us and our free will mentality to understand that.
Right.
But they would have ceased to exist as a people. As a matter of fact, when they got away from God's law, they did cease to exist as a people for a significant portion of time when the Babylonians took them into exile.
Colonel Zaid, so far I didn't think you said anything offensive yet.
No.
And plus I'm pretty thick-skinned. Judaism is a very hard religion. The law of Moses cannot be lived up to. Oh,
yeah.
I'll tell you, not me personally, but guys in my shop made a bunch of money installing those wires around, areas of Brooklyn so that the Jews could trick God into saying, this is still my property because I got a magic wire so I could go over down there to the hardware store on the Sabbath.
Right.
We got another visit. Arkham, how you doing?
Hey. How are you doing?
First off, Arkham, do you know T-Bunny? T-Bunny, do you know Arkham? Okay. And you know the topic that we're talking about? I
caught the beginning of it. I know you're talking about early rule, or not really rule, but early
we're specifically
of the Israeli culture.
We're specifically talking, and we already got in the weeds already, but that's fun. I enjoy that. We're specifically talking, why did God harden Pharaoh's heart? and all of the theological, philosophical ramifications of that one line in the Bible that has given me problems, like, you know, legit problems for geez, 50, so it must be 49 years or so since I first learned it.
Yeah.
Judaism had daily perpetual sacrifice, sin, dietary laws, clothing laws, sexual laws, commerce laws, landmark. Yeah.
I mean, most religions did have that. When they start in their earlier process, it seems to be very, very strict, more strict than obviously it is today. Of course, you have the more orthodox and unorthodox and so forth.
Yeah.
But same thing with Christianity. There was a point where if you didn't follow every part of it, you were a apostate. You know, you didn't do it right. You were just as bad as a sinner. You know. And there's religions today that are worse off. You know, if you even leave it, you're considered dead. You know, in their eyes, or they would try to kill you. You know, so it's like some religions. It just seems like the longer the religion lives, generally the more it learns to be a little bit more loose, a little bit more understanding. Generally speaking, but that has to be
that first generation of Christianity didn't play.
No, they did not play at all. They were ruthless.
Yeah. Well,
first they were victims, and then they became ruthless.
Yeah, exactly.
Ultra Orthodox.
Isn't that like the Russian Jews that are like?
I don't know, but I'm just thinking like ultra, like they have superpowers. They can fly, shoot laser beams.
Their belief is so strong it actually grants them the ability to do so. Ultra.
Yeah.
So let's circle back and get to this. So Moses now is I can't help but picture Charlton Heston and Yul Brynner. You know, that movie is just burned into my mind as a kid. But Charlton Heston is you know, he's got his Winchester rifle, you know, because he's in charge of the NRA at the time. Why Yul Brynner? You know, he has his gun because he's from Westworld. So we got these two gun tote. Now I'm being silly, but Pharaoh is, you know, being threatened and seeing the power of the Hebrew God, and he has one more command, you know, and he's. I always thought, but I just reread it and I misremembered, or maybe it's in another book that I forget, because you know how the Bible retells the same stories a few times. But it specifically says God is talking to Moses and says, "I will harden Pharaoh's heart, although he will see the many wonders." Or, you know, I'm reading it wrong. It's right here. But I will harden Pharaoh's heart, though I multiply my signs and wonders in Egypt. He will not listen to you. Then I will lay my hand on Egypt with mighty acts of judgment. I'll bring out my divisions, my people, the Israelites. So now the theological question that always bothered me is, am I misinterpreting this, or did God intervene and remove somebody's free will?
Well, remember what we talked about before about we might be talking about, you know, God saying that he's going to do something means that in time he's already done it. And so in this, you know, in this situation, this could have been, you know, God meted out judgment later on, but his judgment was to harden Pharaoh's heart. But it's like he told him this up front because he is God and he's out of time and he's omniscient, right? And so one of the problems here is that you're kind of conflating you're thinking linear again. But when we're talking God, God is, when he says that I will, it means that this has already been done further down the line, and he is just informing you.
A lot, you know, I went to Catholic school, and a lot of the nuns, you know, I was that pain in the neck kid that questioned everything, you know, that argumentative, sometimes just for the sake of being argumentative. You guys think I'm bad now. You should have seen me back in 2005, man. I fought with everybody. My poor wife, what she went through in her earliest years of marriage. Poor woman. But I just like to argue for the sake of argument. I didn't care who it was. I didn't care what family members got mad at me. So I'm just telling you how I was. But this was one of them that I just would let go. And they all always came back to the same thing. Like either I don't know, or it's poetic language. And then I was like,
when you're done, John.
Yeah, so it's like, so how are we supposed to do? Okay, so if it's poetic language, then I can't take anything that the Bible says is literal because it's poetic language. Unless you got the Scooby-Doo decoder of this, this is literal. It just, that to me just sets everything up for question.
Well, where the Bible is being poetic, it's pretty clear.
Right.
Like
right. This is pretty specific
like
to me. That was my point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the way I also look at it, like, I want to get to what Eric said. It popped in the chat for a second. Yeah, the first generation of Christianity, they were enslaved. They were in servitude. Yeah, we covered that. That it was the later generations of Christianity that went hardcore mode. The first generations were victims. So we agree with you on that one. But for the hardening the Pharaoh's heart, I went and just read some of it right now. It almost seems like to me that's the debate of Judas. Is Judas the villain? What if it's
that's what we talked about last time, Coop and I got together.
It seems like God kind of, I'm not the biggest theologist, but I study here and there. It seems like God hardened the Pharaoh's heart because he knew that eventually the chosen people would exile themselves into the promised land.
That's the way I did it myself, but that begs the question then.
Because at the same time, he told the Pharaoh, if you do exile them, you are going to get punished, right? But he still hardened his heart because at the same time, he made the Pharaoh realize, I think, that hey, you're going to do this, you are going to get punished. But if you don't believe in what your actions are, this is what you believe. Do it.
I dare you. Well, basically, this happens multiple places in Scripture where God tells the ultimate outcome up front, and basically he was telling Moses that, eventually I'm going to wind up hardening the Pharaoh's heart because, Egypt needs to see my wrath and needs to see that I am God, the Lord God. Most of the things that God does is to show that he is the Lord God and that he is more powerful, right? Like all the plagues.
If God could do that, if he wants to show his power, couldn't he have just rained money out of the sky, or you know what I mean? Or he could have done anything. So to my way of thinking,
well, he did 9 plagues. I mean, that's
but then he hardened Pharaoh's heart.
Pharaoh hardened his heart before God hardened his heart, though.
Yeah, he hardened his heart, but Pharaoh, then God came down and specifically hardened his heart because that implies that Pharaoh was wavering.
Well, no, it doesn't. It doesn't, though.
Well, he needed extra cement. You know what I mean? Because the cement that he had wasn't.
Once again, you're clouding the issue here. Okay, the issue is that at what point did God harden Pharaoh's heart? Now, on a couple of occasions, let me see which one. I think it was the parable of the river turning to blood, and there's another one. But it says that when because after every plague, Moses came to Pharaoh and says, God wants you to let his people go. And then it says that the Pharaoh hardened his heart.
God wants you to let his people go, but not until these innocent babies get killed. That had nothing to do with this.
Well, he could have done it any time. He had 9 plagues to have let the people go.
So he could have done it after the 9th plague. Maybe he would have, but God hardened his heart.
Well, John, do you think the terminology "God hardened his heart" isn't necessarily an act that he does upon himself, or do you think it could be more of the situation of the things that are occurring around him?
Well, all the other things Pharaoh hardened his heart. Pharaoh hardened his heart, and then this one is God talking to Moses.
Gotcha.
Well, the thing about this though is what did he harden his heart? He hardened his heart before the death of the firstborn.
Right.
So what is the result of the death of the firstborn? Passover.
Right.
The Israelis got the
but then
observance of Passover.
was obsolete by Christ. Christians don't celebrate Passover.
Yeah, but Passover was a expression of Christ coming. It was a reflection of Christ coming. And as a matter of fact, most Messianic Jews that you talk to that come to Christ later have discovered that Passover basically is a very Christian observance, but it started back when the death of the firstborn.
It's funny that you
coating of the blood on the door.
I used to ask my mom, why don't we celebrate Passover? So we did. She invited a rabbi over. The funny thing is after the rabbi realized we weren't Jewish, and he was just like, what am I doing here? I mean, I wanted lamb's blood on the door. If we're going to do Passover, let's do it right. I was one of those little weird kids.
Well, so ultimately, what did the Pharaoh had all these opportunities to let the people go, but then he ran out of opportunities, and so that last opportunity, God basically his wrath was on the Pharaoh.
What if the frogs came down, and we all know how frogs ruin everything? What if the frogs came down?
The opinions expressed by John's Lungbox are not necessarily the opinions of T.
Everything.
No, the opinions of mine, that's for sure.
Everything associated with frogs in these parts ruins everything. So what if Pharaoh just said, "Okay, you win," right then and there?
Yeah. Then none of the rest of it would have happened.
John, just letting you know, the Diaz brothers are streaming they're streaming now, of course.
Right. They told me to come at 8:30. That's why I
just want to let you know that they're going.
That's why I postponed its clobbering time till 9:00.
Right. Well, but the thing about it is most of what happened around the crucifixion was basically patterned after the Passover. And so the Passover would have never happened if the firstborn of Egypt hadn't died. If that hadn't been, and so basically Pharaoh had his opportunities, but this was God's basically his judgment on Pharaoh, because Pharaoh had he had his opportunities, and it said Pharaoh hardened his heart. But then, it came down to it, and there's one more judgment to be made, and when Moses put it to the Pharaoh, and it says God hardened his heart, and so this was going to happen. And so what they got Passover out of it, they got their main observance out of it, and it also when Christ came, he fulfilled the Passover. But they still celebrate Messianic Jews still celebrate the Passover, but it's an observance of the crucifixion rather than an empty but basically this is always it. Basically, Pharaoh had his opportunities. Pharaoh had his, he had free will all the way up to that time. But then that was part of God's judgment on the Pharaoh. Because he showed all the plagues basically were aimed to show God's supremacy over all of the gods of Egypt.
Right. I'm bringing up an image now. I found this fascinating when I found it. Keep talking, Coop, while I find this image.
The last one, though, was basically over the god of the dead, Anubis.
Right.
So the last one was
the first plague. The first plague, watered the blood, was defeating
the Nile god. Yeah.
Yeah, the Nile god Hapti and Khnum. The frog god was Heqt. I can never pronounce these. The gnats or the lice was Geb. The flies was Kefri. The plague was to defeat Hathor, and with the rest, and so on and so on.
Yeah. And so so ultimately the main god of Egypt was Anubis. So that's basically that was showing that he was more powerful than the chief god of Egypt. In fact, Pharaoh to after his child had passed would have been praying to Anubis to bring him back, and so so basically this whole entire thing, the problem you're having is that he took away Pharaoh's free will, but
right
Pharaoh
now,
had his free will all the way up to that moment, but eventually,
right now that is the, like, I want to laser focus on that. Whether it needed to be done and everything like that is my point is, if God could take away someone's free will, first off, does that make, in my mind, if you're the leader, I was just reading Hulk comics where the leader mind controls people and then makes you shoot somebody. I guess I shouldn't talk like this on YouTube. We get demonetized. Are you innocent? Are you guilty of your actions? Now, so Pharaoh is a piece of crap. The world was a horrible place. Everybody, including the Israelites, took slaves. So is Pharaoh is he guilty? You know what I mean? Is he?
Well, let me ask you a question.
No,
at what
I
point?
still think he was the Pharaoh was still under his own control. God just kind of nudged him a bit, kind of like the Gandalf nudge. Gandalf doesn't make you do anything; he just nudges you along.
I mean, now we could argue what exactly does hardening his heart mean? Does it mean he took away his free will? Okay, I'll get you on that one. That's a good point. Does it just mean more
but his heart was hardened anyway. But all God did was just kind of make sure that he followed through, that he followed through with his actions, and so that was God's judgment. Because eventually, eventually there's judgment, and eventually, what happens in judgment? What happens in a court of law if you get judged as being guilty? What happens?
What happens if you're guilty? Then you have to suffer the consequences of
you have to suffer the consequences of your actions, and most of the time, your freedom in some way is inhibited, right? So at what point?
Oh, Henry's got to. I was going to ask Henry a question, but he's got to go. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Cruel Barab. Nudging sounds like manipulation. I think the wording's a little off, but yeah. I mean, we could argue semantics, but so I guess even cutting away everything else, we could argue the words, we could argue whether it's necessary, but now I guess my bone of contention is, did God remove Pharaoh's free will?
No,
he didn't. Okay, so if he didn't remove Pharaoh's free will, I these words are killing me. I'm saying the wrong words. Then there's no problem. But I can't get past, because I agree Judas acted of his own volition. He did everything on his own. And I know I catch hell. A couple of people have messaged me, told me that I'm not wrong, but I still have a little sympathy for Judas. I especially how the chosen, he was helping Jesus along. Like he was gonna motivate Jesus to do it faster because his time scale was different than the Lord God's times. You know what I mean? That's the arrogance and the hubris right there. That's an aside. But did Pharaoh act with his own agency or not his own agency? I keep trying to clarify my statement because I don't believe
he acted with his own agency, but God's judgment was to basically ensure that he followed through with his actions. That was God's judgment, was that he made sure that he got everything that was coming to him, that he followed through exactly with what he deserved, and what he had earned.
Okay, so let's just say that Moses, that whatever, Pharaoh acted with his own agency and whatever. God is blameless. God didn't do anything wrong. But then the innocent firstborn sons of Egypt, who had nothing to do with it, they're just chilling out in the womb. They're killed. Now, to me, I can't help but equate that with social justice. And we all agree that social justice is wrong. We as Western people believe in individual justice.
Well, if your grandpa was a POS that damaged your parent, and your parent took it out on you, were you guilty of anything?
No,
you're not. But
right.
you're paying for the sins of the grandfather who damaged your parent, who is now raising you as a damaged individual
So does
because
that
of
mean
what
I
the
get to be
grandparent
killed?
did.
Does that mean God gets to kill me?
Do you think that the killing of the firstborn is kind of the way we kind of dropped the bombs after Japan already surrendered? It's kind of like, this is just so you fucking, oh, sorry, this is so you never, ever do it again.
Yeah, but United States doesn't have any all-powerful, omniscient.
Well, see, what you're dealing with.
Were pretty close. Those nukes were pretty god awful.
Well, let me just say, at what point in your frame of reference, at what point do people not have to pay a penalty for their actions?
It's not about my reference. I'm not God, right?
I'm talking to John because he keeps getting hung up on this point.
Right.
At what point do you not have to pay, for your actions? At what point?
When you've redeemed yourself, when you've done penance.
He could have redeemed himself 9 different times.
Yeah, but the firstborn children of Egypt didn't have that choice.
Well, didn't Moses tell him what was going to happen?
Yeah, but that's still, if Moses says, your sister's face is going to explode, and the sister's just sitting in a convent making candles, you know what I mean? Telling her that is blackmail. That is the mafia going, nice place you have over here. We wouldn't want anything bad to happen now, would you?
See, the thing about it is you're asking me to explain something that nobody can explain. Okay, like I just lost my friend. Okay.
Yes. Yes. And very sad condolences to you.
Okay. All right. So my friend was a good guy. By all intents and purposes, he was a good guy. He ran a theater for kids. He had people all over the country that are mourning him right now because he was such a good guy. Okay. And he'd been spending the last nearly 11 years of his life saving up money for a house. And well, his nephew, who happens to be pretty wealthy, went in and helped him get this house. And so he had a house and he passed away without being able to set foot in it.
That's terrible.
Yeah. But the thing about it is like, I have my struggles with it, right? But the thing about it is God, is God good or is he not good? And,
I mean, in that particular instance, I just see God as this, he didn't do anything. He doesn't have to do anything. That's just nature taking its course for good.
Well, I mean, I have a strict.
This is God specifically killing these little babies that had nothing to do with anything.
No, it was Pharaoh killing his little babies. It was
Pharaoh didn't run into people's houses and stab them. God killed them. God killed them.
Yes, he killed them. He killed them because that was the penalty of the Pharaoh's actions.
But so it's fair. So if Jesus says go to church on Sunday,
we're not talking about fair. We're not talking about fair here. We're talking about judgment. We're talking about crime and judgment, and he earned the judgment. And unfortunately, those little kids paid the price for it.
Of Israel, and as far as I know, and then Herod did the same thing later on, and Herod's a bad guy. But
he died eaten with worms.
Yeah, Herod. What do they call it? Herod's curse. Oh God, I've always wanted to write a screenplay about Herod.
He got his. He got his. It's one of the worst. It's one of the worst deaths in the Bible.
And if you ever read about Herod Agrippa, I think his nephew that was friends with Claudius, this guy was basically a buccaneer, swinging around, sleeping with everybody, and then thought he was the Messiah. That is a movie that needs to be made. But anyway,
well,
if Pharaoh, okay, so I say to you, Coop, do what I say, or I'm gonna kill everybody that you know. Does that mean you get to kill everybody I know because you just punish me with my threat?
No, because I don't have the authority in that situation.
Right. So I mean, this is what this whole little story is.
What you're expecting, you have to
I'm
understand.
expecting to hold God to a standard that God holds us to.
No, you're expecting God to be anything less than God.
I'm expecting God to be fair and just and not kill innocent little babies that had nothing to do with nothing. They didn't even have a chance to sin.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, but that's a conundrum that I can't clear.
Yeah, that is the conundrum. That's why this is the phrase in the Bible.
Well, I mean, the thing about it is the same God that you're criticizing right now sent His only Son into the world. That's an aspect of Himself to save humanity, who died on the most horrible test in history.
Do unto others as you would do unto yourself. Pharaoh said, "I'm going to kill the firstborn of every Israelite." So God said, "Okay, now I'm going to take every child of yours."
Right. Yeah, he'd already done that. That's why Moses was had to be put in the river.
Right. This isn't the first time, and it's probably not even the second time.
Right.
Yeah. It sounds like this might have been like a common. I won't say common, but like a used tactic in that part of the world at this time. You know what I mean? I doubt. Well, Ramses II was the one who came up with this.
Well, yeah. I mean, he did. He
You're asking how many times do I go to church? I haven't gone to church in 40 years. My wife goes to church every Sunday, so I'm not a church goer.
Yeah, I feel zero. It's been like 25 years since I went to church. I still listen. I still talk.
If we understood everything, we'd be saints. I can't argue with that.
We are born in sin. We are dumb apes.
Well, at the end of the day, though, God gave His firstborn, did He not?
Yeah.
He gave His firstborn for humanity.
Yeah.
And we do know there's a man named Jesus. We do know He came, and we do know that He was crucified in the most horrific way possible. And we do know that 500 people said that they saw Him after His death. And they never recanted, even though they were tortured to death.
Yeah.
And so those are established facts.
I'm looking forward to the chosen when they go towards the Acts of the Apostles. That is the part of the Bible that I know the least. So I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be gruesome, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be gruesome.
And most of the stuff that I know of that area is historically.
Yeah.
I really love the early history of the Middle East.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane. If you want to read a fantasy, actually read the early history of the Middle East. It's crazy.
I mean, if anybody, they're making the chosen. I trust them to make a good show, but a comic book of the Acts of the Apostles would be like the Lord of the Rings. It would just be an exciting. And Colonel's Aid, nobody's mad at you. Ask whatever questions you want. Unlike other areas, this is a place where as long as you're respectful, nobody's going to get mad. You could disagree with me publicly, and I'm not going to spread lies about you. The Acts of the Apostles is one of my favorite parts of. Yeah, I got to read more of it. Once like the book of Paul, when it became just like letters and epistles and stuff. I wanted angels.
Can I establish this thing Colonel Zaid just said? Can I just ask
this?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
No, we didn't have to ask Him to be saved. He chose to save us. And whether you accept that gift or not is up to you.
Right.
So we didn't have to ask for it. He did it on His own, and He did it for us. And so take that or what you will, or accept it or not. But that is basically we did in a way ask to be saved, and He saved us, and but we just have to accept that salvation, accept that free gift.
And also Zaid's earlier comment, no, you were not learning any Luciferian.
No, you're not leaning Luciferian. Luciferian is do what thou wilt, and you obviously have a moral compass, and so that definitely is not Luciferian. So don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But
writing make up about 60% of the New Testament. Yeah, Paul is a fascinating character. That might be a topic one day.
Paul's conversion is my favorite story in the whole entire Bible.
Yeah.
When you say how bad that dude was and
Yeah.
what he turned into, I mean,
I always remember him as like he came to the 12 apostles and he's like, hey, one of you now, and they were like, go to Greece. Yeah, go to Greece. Like basically, get out of here. Thinking that the Greeks, they weren't going to listen to him. You know, just go. We don't. You know.
Well, they tried to murder him before he got out of the city. They had to lower him over the walls at night in a basket.
Oh, I like the story of John the Baptist too. It kind of reminds me of that. How it's that?
Yeah, John the Baptist was a G, man.
Yeah,
that's what my mom named me after she told me.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah, what happened, John?
Yeah, I was trying to get my beard. I was just about to wear a shirt. I shaved my beard to make a hair shirt. There you go.
I think I should grow my beard back out too, John. Like I should. That picture I sent you.
Can I address this thing, Colonel Zay?
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Sure. This comment right here. Go ahead.
This comment right there. He says that the Father damns us. The Father does not damn us. Our own actions damn us. The Father sent a way for us to be saved. And for he that believes on him is not condemned, but he that believes not is condemned already. And so it's our own inactivity that condemns us. So God does not condemn us. God is trying to save us.
Well, it just seems like almost like humans were in God was like a thing of ants. It dropped. He tried to corral us, like through Exodus and Sophos, corral us, get us back in our holes. Wasn't working. So he's like, wow, these ants are really dumb. He grabbed and created him through his own little personal ant, put it down there and said, fix these people. And then the ants turned around and tried to eat him.
So, Colonel Reb, I'm sorry to hear that you're at a funeral. I hope everything's okay. Thank you. I love you too, Eric. I know what you're talking about. I'm just being silly.
Yeah, Curl lost a friend of his. So
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, that's never good.
So he's having the same problem I am right now. So
anyway. So like I've had I was like one of those late teens, early 20s militant atheist guys that would argue with everybody, and then one day I actually listened to somebody else in one of my college classes being a jerky atheist, and I was like, is that how I sound to people? And like sometimes you need to see a look into a mirror, and then you're like, oh geez, that's how I look. So I stopped all of that nonsense. I just became live and let live, and that's where I was for the majority of my life. Believe as long as I don't care. There's only one religion I have a real major problem with, and I'm not here to talk about that just yet. I'm sure you can figure it out, but
yeah, for me, it was an atheist just like you, John. I'm more agnostic now. I'm not religious, but mine is being scientifically correct all the time, and even seeing factually correct. Is that making you happy? Is that fulfilling you in any way, shape, or form? No. So maybe some spirituality and some, religious doctrine can.
Well, my biggest problem with atheism is you're basically fundamentally trying to take away people's hope.
No, I disagree with that.
I disagree with that too.
Yeah, like I looked at it very like I said, I know most of the Bible through history, not through biblical terms, historical terms. That's not mean I'm not going to discount anything on the biblical side. A lot of stuff that was excommunicated from the historical side turned out to be actually correct on the biblical side, and then turned back into historical. So I don't discount that. I just leave it as it was written thousands of years ago. Well, written technically 1,600 years ago. Stories are over a couple thousand years old. Hand me down. God keeps the fundamental principles of the stories intact, hands them down from generation to generation to be told to us as a guidance. And the fact that I totally forgot what I was talking about. Yeah. So what was the beginning of it before I started going off on it? Your mic's you're muted, John.
Yeah, I turned off my because I was clicking on something. My problem with atheism is it was always defined by belief. Like, there's no word for somebody who doesn't believe in Bugs Bunny. There's no word for somebody who doesn't believe in Zeus. You know what I mean? So like I always, like, when I was an atheist, like now I'll say atheist because it doesn't matter because nobody knows what I'm talking about anyway. But back when I was hardcore atheist, I used to say like, no, I'm removed from that whole sphere, and you're defining me by what I removed myself from. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm just like without like
Yeah,
I used to,
atheism
I'm a
is the only atheism is the only belief that's basically framed by what they don't believe in.
right. So I was just saying, I remove myself. Like whatever words you use for me, those are your words. You know what I mean? But
Well,
like,
it does presuppose that there's something not to believe in, and so
that's why that's why I rejected the whole term. It's like, like you're defining me by like something that is, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even, you know what I mean? Like, oh, what do you mean you don't like halibut? It's like, what does this have to do with me? Like, there's a word for people. You know what I mean? Like, so anyway, but it doesn't matter. That was like a silly little thing that I in my 20s. But
and I think what helped open my eyes.
I've unhardened my heart.
Yeah. So like what helped me unharden my heart when it comes to religion and looking at it through more of an open lens was, say, for instance, look at the Ark, right? You call atheists gay and move on. The Ark of the Covenant, not the Ark of the Covenant, Noah's Ark, the animals 2x2. You look at it scientifically, impossible, right? Look at it realistically. We grab 2x2 of every animal that's within your area, which is at that time your whole world. So you're taking out more of a principled look at how it's written instead of taking it verbatim. And yeah, they could have grabbed 2 of every animal that they had within their vicinity. That's their whole world. Didn't have to be this Noah ship that's 1 billion miles long carrying every animal from the whole globe, just within their area. And so that's why it made me stop looking at the Bible taking it so meticulously and so, taking it word for word, as opposed to how things are written to tell a story.
That's always been like I said, back to the nuns. They're always like, well, this is poetic and it's not meant. Well, then who gets? I want a guide that says this is to be taken literally and this is meant to be taken poetically and this is.
I think that's the beautiful part of religion, though, is finding out for yourself what you find.
That's a good point.
Personal.
Well, there is an internal reality that I was within the church for 22 years before I was saved, and when I got saved, it was begrudged. It was angry at God the whole way, but I basically had nothing left, and I gave it to Him, and so there was a change that happened in me. There's an internal reality that I have that I didn't have before, because I had all the head knowledge in the world. I was like you. I studied the Bible when I was young, and I had all these questions, and so yeah, it's not easy to go through what I just went through last month, and all the questions, all the problems that I had with what happened to my friend, and still do and still struggle with, but I have an internal reality, a indwelling spirit, as it were, that kind of like lets me know that there's something else beyond this, and that it helps me to, it helps me get through this myself. I couldn't do it without it, and so what you're doing is you got a lot of head knowledge, you got a lot of questions, but ultimately, what we're talking about is a faith matter.
Yeah, I think is what, like you said, coming to your faith, not necessarily having to argue over, basically like we were doing, but we're doing it playfully and theoretically and having fun with it, but arguing over semantics. People literally go to war over that shit. Countries have fallen because of that, especially when it comes to religion.
So I just want to refocus now because we are way out in the weeds. The topic is, Pharaoh's hardened heart.
Ultimately, we're not too far off, because ultimately your issue is God good? Ultimately the issue is did God go against His own teachings? Did He go against His? Was God being immoral when He did this? That's ultimately what you're asking.
Yeah, if God could override an individual's free
He didn't
will.
override it, though. You keep saying that. He didn't
He
override
hardened
it.
his heart.
Yes,
What
he
else?
hardened his heart. It was already. He just ensured that he was going to continue on the
Because
direction that he had already set himself.
the other 9 plagues, Pharaoh hardened his own heart.
Yes.
And then the 10th plague, God hardened his heart, which
Well, John, again,
God ensured that everything that he had earned up to that point came true.
and I still read it as
That was
Pharaoh
judgment.
hardened his heart by doing what he was doing. God hardened his heart by making him pay for the situations that he occurred. So every time he did something that made himself worse, God said, okay, well, this is the repercussions. That pissed him off more. So he did something more, and it just a one-up game on top of that. Every time the Pharaoh did something, God smacked him down, pissed him off even more, made it worse, then made it worse, then made it worse. You know, like that kid in court that keeps yelling at the judge.
I'm following your logic now. Okay, you just had a really good argument here. All right, you see this is twice in 1 week now that I'm hearing good arguments on YouTube. But what you're saying is the actions that happened, showing that the frogs, the plagues, the blood, whatever, I forget all of the 10 commandments. This proof made this stubborn person even more stubborn.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That to me
the Pharaoh defied God, even though God showed him exactly what he was talking about.
Arrogant arguing with Sister Ruth, poor lady who quit in the middle of class because we were a bunch of pains in the asses.
All right, John, I'm gonna go hit the gym, guys.
Before you go, did you get the email?
I got the email. I already did 3 pages.
Holy macaroni!
They're not finished, mind you. They're all rough draft. I want to go over panels.
Send me the pages just to make sure that everything's is good.
Yeah, no, this is super alpha. Even if you said this is garbage, I hate it. I'm like, I don't care. I'm doing it for my practice, right? But of course, I'm sending it to you.
For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, I sent Arkham a script that for Heroic Tales. I talked about a couple of weeks ago. I woke up with literally one day with 2 full stories in my head. I wrote them out as fast as possible.
That happens.
And I realized that Renzo is overworked with ideas. So I was like, I got to shop this out to somebody else. I gave one to Stippling Vaughn, who's doing the Printer's Devil, and now Arkham. So just before you get too in the weeds, and I know I'm not going to hate it. I saw your art samples, but just so. And one of the things I ask is, I'll make trading cards of the 2 main characters, so that you know what they look like, and then I use them as the trading card. So
yeah, and both the main characters, any of their placements within those panels are rough sketch. They're not. There's no definition.
Okay,
all right. Nothing in there. Mountains, places, bodies, where they will be. Those are all put down. No definition, nothing like that. Okay. So you go, no, I want this angled this way, and I don't have to do a lot of changes. So it's really rough, really rough. So
nobody's mad. Nobody's mad. Cooper's not mad. Arkham's not. Nobody's mad.
No, nobody's
We're all a bunch of friends. But we get hot, but that's the fun of it. So just email me if you have any questions. I don't want to keep taking any of Cooper's time.
Yeah, sure. All right, see you guys later.
See you later. Thanks for popping in. If anybody wants to pop in, I'll throw the link in. You know the rules. If I don't know you too well, I got to see your face. That just keeps people from misbehaving. You know what I'm talking about. We've seen it on other channels. All of a sudden, you click a link, somebody's whatever, and then they show something that they shouldn't show. That gets my channel in trouble.
Well, let me read this right quick.
Monsters are interesting. Cooper's got the word in his mouth right now. Go ahead.
All right. So why does the author use this back and forth technique to describe Pharaoh's heart? It's all part of the brilliant diagnosis of the human condition in his story, which is about the mysterious nature of human evil. God called Pharaoh to humble himself, acknowledge that God is his authority, and that he cannot redefine good and evil in Egyptian terms. Pharaoh's response is to balk at the God of Israel, and after this, God gives Pharaoh 5 opportunities to repent and humble himself. 5 times Pharaoh hardens his own heart. The author wants us to see that even the most heinous and absurd forms of human evil are not a true threat to God's purposes. He can steer even this kind of evil towards a plan to bless all humanity through Abraham's family. And so, basically, if you want to give a definitive answer to you, I can't give it.
Right. I don't expect any of us to have like these super biblical, but it is a fun discussion. And I'm still not done with it, because even if Pharaoh hardened his own heart, like, and this is going to piss people off, and I'm not here to piss people. I'm just explaining my thinking. The reason why I have such problems with this is I don't like abortion. I really get disturbed by it. Like when people make light of it, when people joke about it, when like I'm seeing a lot of like really horrible stuff going on, and like women on Twitter like, yeah, I'm going to the test today to see if I'm having a daughter or an abortion, and I'm just like, oh my god, like it brings me to tears to see that people think like that. So the idea of these babies just getting wasted, you know what I mean? It just bothers me. Maybe on a more emotional level than it should, but that it does. So this is why I have such a difficulty with this what do you want to call it? Passage in the Bible, story in the Bible. I don't know the correct term. So I'm trying to wrap my head around it. You know what I mean? And if it's okay to kill these babies, I can't help but be logical. Like maybe I always said that I was an undiagnosed autistic.
God never said it was okay to kill babies. Right. He never said that.
Well, Timothy Olsen's here.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah,
you know me. I'm an opinionated son of a gun.
I know you.
I heard the bell ring. So ding ding.
Yeah.
As for the jokes about that, it's called dark humor, and dark humor is supposed to make you feel uncomfortable. That's why it's funny.
Nobody's making jokes. Like what jokes?
You were talking about jokes, where people make light of it. Jokes.
No, not even jokes. Like. Yeah, today I'm going to find out if I have a daughter or an abortion. That's not like making.
No, that's a lazy joke, and that's kind of just being a condescending.
And then one day
it starts with a C and ends with a T.
Yeah. Like something really disturbed me. My wife is sitting right here, very interested in this conversation, but I don't know if I ever said this, but I was reading an interview. I really got into Fleetwood Mac about a year ago. Make fun of me.
I'm sorry.
I know. Make fun of me all you want. I have.
That's okay. That's okay. Before I discovered punk rock, I grew up on what my dad was listening to and what my dad was watching. Because I was a kid.
I grew up on punk rock, and now I'm turning into an old fart listening to Fleetwood Mac.
Oh no, it's happened to you.
I know. So I'm listening to Steve. I was reading an interview with Stevie Nicks, and she just says,
"It's talking about killing her baby." Yep.
Yeah, she goes, "If I didn't have my abortion, I never would have been in Fleetwood Mac," and it just hit me right then and there, because I'm working on a story for Heroic Tales at the time.
A very selfish thing for her to say.
This is a sacrifice.
And the next baby she had, she miscarried.
But this is just like saying, if I didn't sacrifice my child to Moloch, I wouldn't have had a good abundance of harvest that year.
That's exactly what it was.
Have you ever seen the Late Night with the Devil?
Yeah. I almost really liked it. The ending killed me.
Well, but that's the whole point. Is that what will he? What it's kind of a cautionary tale about what people will give away of themselves just to be famous.
Right. Yeah. That's in my comic, The Suit. That people seem to miss the point is this guy gave up something for politics, for power, and he's a horrible person. In Heroic Tales.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. The Suit was a little bit of a left turn.
It is possible to be famous and still keep your integrity.
Yes, it is. I mean, everybody loves Keanu Reeves, and
check out Frost's comment.
Late Night with the Devil. That's a weird thing to call Steve.
Oh man, remember when Stephen Colbert used to be funny?
I don't remember that.
I don't remember
when he was at the Daily Show and he was playing a character that was kind of a parody of like
the Colbert Report.
Yeah.
I didn't even find him funny in Strangers with Candy. I mean, honestly,
I still kind of the caricature. I still kind of found funny.
Okay,
it's funny. At this time, I was dating my girlfriend before I met my wife, and she used to try to get me to watch the Colbert Report. And I'm sitting there with like a forced smile on my face, because you got to do what your girlfriend wants. You know what I mean? And I'm like,
right,
this is awful. This has got me out of.
I didn't think it was all. I think when he became more about like every joke was Trump. Am I right? Right. It's like no, dude. After like the 12th joke about Trump, it's like okay, you're not funny anymore.
Yeah.
somebody said that these late night comedians, they don't go for laughs, they go for applause, and I think that is the most accurate statement I've ever heard about these left wing.
Conan O'Brien is still my favorite late night show talk
At
show
least
host.
at least he tells jokes.
Yeah, and he's got funny skits. My favorite one has to be when him and Ice Cube and Kevin Hart when they got an Uber or something, or they took an intern out, they teach her how to drive, and they said, okay, here's some pennies. You got to throw some pennies. No, I throw batteries.
Without the beard, I look like I never Colbert.
Or the was it the van that was ahead of her? Okay, you need to drive ahead of them and make them your bitch. And she like rolls down the window and goes, "You're my bitch," and it's like two Asian, an old Asian couple. So that's what I find funny because it's ridiculous.
Yeah. I had a thought, and then immediately it went.
Okay, let's backtrack. Were we talking about dark humor? You were talking about how
that's what I'm saying. That this passage more than any other passage in the Bible is the thing that disturbs me, and I can't I can't make peace with it.
What the
Pharaoh, the Pharaoh hardened the hearts that leads to and it's funny because it's the one thing like even the nuns would stop and be like, you know what I mean? Like it gave everybody pause.
Well, ultimately, John, who's responsible?
Yeah.
Ultimately,
well, then also he was warned several times, and then they just started. Okay,
like I said,
you do it that way.
Let's comes to your pizzeria and says if you don't give us money every week, something bad might happen. Who's responsible? The guy for not giving the mafia money, or you know what I mean, or the mafia?
Well, you can't blame God.
Well, you can't call God the mafia, man. That's not even a 1-to-1 there.
You're going to have Marlon Brando going, "I told you not to bite that fruit from that tree, and this is how you disrespect me."
Right. Well, that's a different like.
Well, I thought you were this close, but if you compare God to the mafia,
what
you're
I'm saying
this
is
close, man. You're way
if you don't do what I tell you to do, this person who has nothing to do with any of this is going to suffer your consequences.
Well, let me ask you a question. If your boss man told you to do something and he has the authority over you and you didn't do it, what happens? Consequences, right?
But if my boss man gives me something to do and I don't do it, he doesn't kill somebody who's just walking down the street.
To be fair,
you're not doing what you're supposed to do, especially when it comes to safety.
Right,
didn't God test somebody by having him almost sacrifice his son?
Yeah. Isaac and
Abraham. Yeah, he just kind of came out like, "Hey, whoa! I didn't think you'd actually do it. Come on, man."
But you know what I mean?
Right.
Like
that was also that's also the crucifixion. It was also everything reflects the crucifixion. Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like I ticked off people in the crowd. Yeah, I know that. It was a stretch. It was,
Well, I mean, okay, John. If you have certain things that you were supposed to do to protect the people around you, correct?
Right.
Okay, you got certain safety protocols that you have to go through. Why? Because if you don't do them, you're going to hurt somebody else, right? Okay, so if you don't do those things, you hurt somebody else, you get fired.
I didn't create the system that will cause the other people to, like, God could have.
Somebody else created the system, but you knew the consequences. You know the consequences.
Who came down and killed the firstborn? Like, it's all God. God could have said this could have happened.
And
God could have said your feet were going to turn into pudding. He could have did this, but God chose to kill innocent people that had nothing to do with it.
No, they chose the Pharaoh chose to
right. God makes the rules. God made the rules.
God was like, "Oh, okay, you're not going to let my people go. All right."
He's either God or he's not God, John.
Right. And either God
the only thing that makes him God is the fact that he sets the rules, and if you don't follow the rules, then things happen to you.
To be just, otherwise God is just Zeus.
Exactly. He's got to be God. He's got to be just. He sets the rules.
Not just. Innocent people adjust.
Well, see, that's where we break. That's where we break.
Babies, and that's why I have a problem with this story. These babies were just floating around in an amniotic fluid, just You know what I mean? And then they're dead. They didn't do anything wrong. They're in a state of grace. You know what I mean? They didn't sin. They didn't do anything wrong. And now they're dead. This to me makes God no better than Zeus or Apollo or Odin.
Well, it depends on what happens after those babies die.
You know what I mean?
If the babies die and God takes them to paradise, then
what gets your attention more?
Frost, I fully admit this. Frost, I fully admit this. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, when David's child died, okay, his baby with Bathsheba, and
all right, they were firstborn. They weren't floating around. They were sitting in their bassinets, looking for boobies.
Well, the thing about it is, I mean, there's probably some adults that died that were firstborn.
True. Okay.
What,
all right.
Hey, old dirt. Oh, I'm sorry.
That is a good point. I never thought of that. I never considered that. Yeah, but it could have been some 60-year-old guy, who just.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is, though, is as when David's child died with Bathsheba, and he prayed for this child. I mean, he begged God to save this child, but then the child died, and it's pretty clear that it was a direct, basically a direct result of David's sin, essentially. But the thing about it is as soon as that child died, David cleaned himself up, and he's like, I can't go to where he is. But I will see him again someday, but I can't go to where he is. In other words, that child died. God took him to paradise with him. And so all these innocent lives that, that you're hung up on.
We can all agree one thing though. It made one hell of a Metallica song.
Yeah.
Which Metallica song is this?
Creeping Death.
Creeping Death. Yeah, I'm not a big Metallica fan. That's probably the most controversial thing I said tonight.
Oh man! All right,
Megadeth all the way, baby. I'm sorry.
Oh,
although the most controversial thing I say is I don't like Cable.
Man! Well, consider Mustaine probably wrote Creeping. Mustaine probably wrote Creeping Death. It's pretty much the same thing. So
I do like some Megadeth songs. A small handful, I had to say. I have to say, Metallica these days is hit and miss, but let's get back on topic.
Just mention Metallica. We're gonna get our channel shut down, and actually,
Lars is going to show up and say, "You used their name without giving us money. What's wrong with you, man?"
I'm sorry. I mean, not Metallica.
Book of Job is something I was considering for one of these too. That that is a real interesting. And the other one is I can't remember the guy's name. The guy who helped when the tabernacle was going to fall and he helped it up and he died. These are like little interesting theological things I'd like to talk.
The Old Testament is pretty rough, brother.
Yeah, the Old Testament is pretty rough. Yeah. I'm trying to think about maybe the Book of Revelation in the New Testament, but I got to get going. I'm going to be on a Zaid Comics, the Diaz Brothers show in 9 minutes. So I think we weren't going to resolve our problems, but I just wanted to talk about this, guys. If you're mad at me, I apologize. I wasn't here to.
Oh, I'm so mad.
No,
I'm so mad. I'm not full of fury.
I'm just saying. Unless somebody talks to you and helps you work through this, then you never will find your way to salvation.
This is something I'm actively. Oh, I'm sorry, Eric.
Actually, it's very good to kind of think about the books in the Bible and kind of
See, I don't want to shy away from controversial topics.
No.
I also don't want to. If anybody knows me, they know I'm stubborn. I don't submit to peer pressure. Cooper and I were talking about this earlier. So, this is the way I feel. I'm making so far, my two main characters are different types of Christians, but they're Christian. My wife is big into the church, but I still have these things that I can't reconcile. And I think we don't solve them if we don't talk about them.
Well, the thing about it is God says work these things out. I mean, God's not afraid of questions. He's not afraid of people asking those questions. And so anybody that shuts down discussion on behalf of God is not talking on behalf of God, because God wants people to talk. Yeah.
That was kind of commonplace in most taverns. They would have theological discussions around.
That's one of the reasons why the British, my grandfather used to say, he got so mad that they shut down all the taverns. And I thought it was just an Irish joke, but that was the forum.
Well, Paul went to Mars Hill, and there was a altar there to the unknown God, and he basically took on all of Mars Hill. Said, "You want to know who this unknown God is? I'll tell you who the unknown God is." And so, basically, there's nothing wrong with discussion. There's nothing wrong with questioning these things. And God has no problem with that. He wants, because people have to work out their own faith, and this is just part of it. And I'm happy that you're allowing me to be part of it. You're further away than I thought you were, but that's okay. Yeah, God's a mafia don. What the hell?
I'm trying to make a point. Yeah,
this is a nice temple you have here. It'd be a shame if something were to happen to it.
Something were to happen to it.
No one has to agree with it. I just appreciate. Yeah, we're having fun and maybe learn a thing or two. Okay. But anyway, I do have to go. I could talk about this for another 2 hours. I really do enjoy this. Okay. If anybody has an idea for another theological discussion, put it in the comment section, not the chat. People put things in the chat later on, and then I never see them. I'm not going to scroll through an hour and a half to look for something.
Topic.
So put it in the discussion, and I'm leaning towards the Book of Job. That's another, like, I hate to use this word, problematic. Has part of.
Well,
I knew we'd get to Job.
Is the book
who
of Revelation.
would win in the fight, God or Mogo?
Well, my money was either on Jonah or Job, and
Jonah's a good one too. I like Jonah.
Jonah probably doesn't like going to Red Lobster at any time in his life.
Yeah,
no, probably not.
I would also at some point really like to talk about Solomon. He's one of my favorite biblical characters, and I think Solomon is misunderstood. But then again, I'm starting to realize that I'm probably looking at the Bible in a weird way than everybody else. But so maybe he's understood. I'm just a crazy.
There's nothing new under the sun, John. You're not special. I'm sorry, you're not.
Well, there's always the topic of
special, and so did the psychiatrists.
There's always the debate about whether
that was special.
The Antichrist is either a real person or an entity.
Mm.
That's a good. These are a lot of good topics. Everybody put this stuff in the comments so we remember. But I'm kind of rushing out the door now. Coop, you want to say anything before we go, real quick?
I'm putting this in the chat right now. This is the preview of community service. If you want to check out what it's all about, that's a free PDF. So check it out.
Check that out. And Tim, you got anything you want to promote or say before we go real quick?
Yes, Zed and Odysseus full length is on Amazon. If you like a parody that combines droids and Adult Swim, you'll like this book.
Okay, cool. But I want to get going because Phil, he's trying to help me out promote my book on Kickstarter. So thanks a lot, everybody. This is a lot of fun.
Right.
Put any ideas, suggestions for a future discussion in the comment. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.